So as many of you watching this may know, Escape from Tarkov is a pretty popular tactical shooter. What you may not know is that I am broke. And trust me, these two are very related. You see, one day I got kind of bored, so I decided to search through Steam's free games before finally stumbling upon this game called Hired Ops. And looking at this game's graphics, I was shocked at how good they looked. Until I scrolled down and all of the reviews were hating on the game. And looking through the reviews, they were mad about the game being dead and pay to win. But then I found a review saying the devs were the same devs from Tarkov. But that was impossible. Tarkov's devs are Battle State Games, while this game was made by Absolute Soft. And so I decided to look up Absolute Soft, and they actually had a website, but it was extremely small and dated. And looking up the person who made the company, it was actually the lead dev of Tarkov, and Absolute Soft was just Battle State Games' older name. And looking up what games the company had made, this was the only one. I was at a dead end. But looking at another website, there was another one called Contract Wars, which was described as a browser multiplayer shooter with RPG and tactical elements, which takes place in the fictional town of Tarkov. And going to the website of the game, it looked exactly like Escape from Tarkov. And I don't know if you've seen games from 2010, but Crysis 2, one of the best looking games at the time, doesn't even look as good as this game. And seeing as this was their first game, I'm guessing there is no way they had the same amount of resources as Crytek. And so I went to the YouTube video linked to the website and found a couple links to play the game, but not a single one of them worked. And going to the channel, there was only one more link to Facebook, but clicking on it led me to an account with over 600,000 followers, and it was still active. Looking in the comments, people were talking about how good the game was, and I was so confused how they were playing it. Until I realized you probably had to log into the website to play it. Whoops. And finally, after logging in, I could download the game and play. And after playing them both, they're actually pretty different. Hired Ops is actually kind of amazing. I gotta say, the amount of times I had to rewrite this part of the video as the game has grown on me is insane. This game is basically if Tarkov and COD had a baby, which sounds terrible on paper, but in practice the game feels not only really good, but unique and charming. I mean, this game has so much to offer, so I'm not going to go into each game mode, but during each game you earn dollars for kills and playing the objective. These dollars are not the same as the in-game currency of credits, which are used to buy weapons. Instead, these dollars are used to purchase upgrades for that game, so you can buy things like grenades, flashbangs, mortars, or your class specialist item. And let me just say, this makes the game so much fun. I usually play Demolitionist, and its special is a fully automatic shotgun. And if you've ever played Tarkov, you would know how insane shotguns are in realistic games. This is kind of a double-edged sword though, because shotguns and snipers feel either really fun or really OP depending on which side of the barrel you're on. Another interesting thing in this game is that you can get attachments from boxes that can make your gun better, which is what I'm assuming is what some of the reviews saying the game is pay to win are talking about. And I mean, I haven't really played enough of this game to see how bad it can get in high level lobbies, but I highly doubt it's that bad. But honestly, pay to win attachments are the least of your worries in this game. Let me introduce you to the contact grenades. An equipment in this game that you can buy for $40. And let me tell you, these things should be considered a war crime. I mean, because this game is trying to be a little realistic, the grenades aren't just little firecrackers like COD. These things are lethal. And because they are contact grenades, you don't even have a chance to run away before both you and the Geneva Convention get violated. Also, for some reason they gave the boss in this game aimbot, but that's just a whole other thing. But overall, it's pretty fun and definitely has some unique aspects that can make it very enjoyable, except for the gun game. Contract Wars, however, is not a good game. You see, when I first loaded in and saw that my only weapon choices were between a shotgun and a pistol and nothing, yeah, let's just say I wasn't too happy about that. And even worse is how you unlock the other weapons. They just have numbers on them. I mean, I assumed it meant kills, but it's actually how many credits they cost. But even worse than this is the game mode, of which there are 4. Deathmatch being free for all, which is the first game mode I played. Target designation, which talks about delivering a beacon and destroying an object, which I couldn't play. Tactical context. Tactical conquest, which I also couldn't play. And team elimination, which the game said I could play, but when I joined, the lobby was basically empty. But now onto the gameplay. This wasn't really the game's fault, I think. But as soon as I loaded into my first match, I was stuck in the chat box and didn't realize. And so like any normal person, I clicked escape. The problem was, that did nothing. This led to my first bit of playtime in the game, simply being me trying to get out of the menu to even move. But you know, I was trying to be open-minded in this rating, so I trudged past it, ready for this amazing game. And my first confrontation was okay, I guess. I mean, there was no hit marker, but there was a huge thing showing I killed him, which is definitely an interesting style choice of neither choosing realism or an arcade style, but whatever. But when I got into a confrontation from over 3 feet away, my shotgun became useless. And even worse than that, my pistol was useless too. And look, just guess for me how many bullets the pistol takes to kill. And if you're under 7, put that guess in the comments. And if you're older than 7, you probably won't even fall for that. Anyways, you got your answer. We'll throw it in the chat because this thing is useless. I mean, how many bullets does it take? But rants aside, that isn't even the worst part. You see, this game suffers from being a niche PvP game with a leveling system. That is to say, not only am I going against players that aren't as new as me, but they also are absolute nerds that spend their entire lives on this game. I mean, I joined a TDM server, and you know who joined? A level 31. And even worse, another high level player joined and they were both against me. And somehow even worse, when I left the other game, my shotgun was automatically unequipped, only for me to try to equip it mid-game and it not work. But don't worry, I still had to show those Russian losers the power of freedom. But anyways, if you want to play these games, they're both free and linked in the description. And while you're down there, you should click that button, and that one too for good measure. But anyways, here's the big question. Why do these exist? I mean, ask anybody, do you know what Tarkov is? And they would say, oh yeah, I've heard of that. But ask anybody what Contract Wars is, and they would think you were talking about a mobile COD ripoff. I mean, I couldn't even play half of the game modes in Contract Wars because there were absolutely 0 players. And in case you didn't know, servers are not something you can just keep up for free. I mean, the cost of keeping a small server up for a month is probably double what this game makes in a year. And I mean, I guess you could say Hired Ops probably breaks even, but it's hard to even tell because a lot of the players are bots. And looking at the Steam charts, Hired Ops only averages between 150 and 200 people. And I can't even find how many Contract Wars has, but I'm gonna guess it's less than 30. Meanwhile, Escape from Tarkov has about 1,000 times that. Personally, my theory is that they're using profits from Tarkov to keep these games up, kinda like what the NBA does to the WNBA. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I definitely don't want Hired Ops to die. I don't really care about Contract Wars, but I feel like the main reason they keep them up is just as a small passion project. And while I would love to see Hired Ops survive, it is not going to happen. You see, on December 17th, 2023, Battlestate Games released Escape from Tarkov Arena, a remake of Hired Ops. And this game is the final nail in the coffin for Hired Ops. The end. Subscribe!